All Hello, Wolfpack Nation. Welcome to another edition of Red Chair Chats, where I, as Chancellor, get to spend some quality time with members of the pack that you know and love, and we're just going to have a good conversation and find out a little bit more about our guest, Boo Corrigan. Boo, how you doing? And I really mean it. I mean, this has been a tough year. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Chancellor. I appreciate it. It's great to be back on the Red Chair Chats. You know, looks a little bit different than before, but it's great to be with you. And you know what? We're doing well. We're going to find a way to come out of this stronger than we went into it. And it certainly has strengthened the pack in our eyes.
Well, I want to congratulate you and your colleagues in athletics for getting through this year. It's been a challenge for the athletes, it's been a challenge for the coaches, and I know it's been a challenge for the administration. So thank you for all you've done to allow our student athletes to do what they love and do it representing the university that we all love.
Well, you know this, you know how special the young people are that we have on this campus and what they do and what they're committed to doing the right things. And they really do. They want to get out there. And whether it's cross country finishing second in the country on the women's side, or women's swimming finishing second in the country, or men's swimming finishing eighth, or wrestling finishing sixth, or, you know, there's so many great stories, but it all starts with them doing the right thing, buying in, the coaches buying in, the staff buying in, and you know, quite frankly, great leadership from your office has really kind of been the guiding part of this whole thing.
You've been here, you're in your second year, second competitive season. Tell me what it means to you to be part of the pack.
You know, it's about the people is what it is. And I think that's what this entire university is about. And it's easy to talk about different aspects, and it's just about winning, or it's about being in the ACC, or it's about, you know, being in big time sports and those things. But to me, it always boils back down to the people in the student athletes on the football team, whether it's Grant Gibson or Isaiah Moore or Thayer Thomas, and they're all different men as they're going through this, right? And how are they dealing with everything? And Melissa Evans and on the volleyball team and what she's going through, and about these each individual journeys as we go through it. And I find it every day that I get inspired by it, get inspired by them and what they do and what they bring to this place, and an incredible fan base that's been with us through this entire thing, and amping to come back.
You know, I was reminded of this when you came to NC State. I found an old picture of you sitting behind the basketball goal at an NC State basketball game, and I suspect we may have been playing a team where your father was employed. Growing up, you were around sports constantly. Your father, we all know, was longtime athletic director and commissioner of the ACC. So what's your favorite sports moment growing up? Oh, I got you there.
You got me there. I would say I was in the pit in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and just as a kid, and being there as depending on what story is that day, either a shot or a pass, and Lorenzo Charles jumps up and dunks it. And it was a great moment in that I didn't have this incredible rooting interest on what it is, but it was competition at the highest level. It was unbelievable excitement in everything that's going on. So clearly from that standpoint, as far as a seminal type moment of what it is, and seeing people run around the court, and me actually broke through the security and ran onto the court too. I was just kind of like excited to be there. But it's ironic that I now sit in the chair that I sit in. That's one of the that's one of the great moments. But, being a kid in Charlottesville, was being a kid in South Bend, Indiana, in the first night game in the history of Notre Dame's football stadium when they played Michigan was a pretty cool thing to be around. But, as I get older, I just kind of keep going back to who are the people involved in all those things and what those moments are about.
You've had many opportunities to be a part of big sports moments. For me, it was the Redbugs winning the state championship in Fordyce, Arkansas, but not quite as big as Lorenzo Charles' pass.
Yeah. What is the hand signal for a red bug?
No, we don't have it.
We've got this.
No, it's all about the itch. So for us, it's really about scratching ourselves because those all of our opponents have red bugs all over. All right, now we're getting into the lightning round now. Since Boo started scratching his head to get rid of the red bugs, we thought we'd go through just a few off-the-cuff questions to try to get the juices flowing here. What was your first impression of NC State?
Meeting you and coming into the original interview and just the ease at which we had a conversation, and really just kind of enjoying that moment and thinking, wow, if this guy's in charge, I want to be a part of something like that.
Wow. I was expecting something bigger than that, but I do appreciate.
Well, you asked first impression. You asked first impression.
Yeah, I get it. All right, now we've had a little more time this year to be with our families. Now you've been with the Wolfpack all over the country, but I've spent a little more time at home compared to what I normally would as chancellor, and I've watched a few more movies than I typically might. And so I want to get into that a little bit and find out, what actor would you be if you were in a movie? What's an actor that you think personifies Boo Corrigan? This is going to be big.
Well,
come on,
I don't know. You think about. I've been accused of looking like Tom Hanks. Or looking like Vince Vaughn, right? Throughout the whole thing. But for my money, any movie that included Gene Hackman or included Samuel L. Jackson are two of the ones that I would go with.
Tough guy. You're a tough guy.
A little bit. They got a little edge to them. They got a little edge to them, but they always seemingly come out on the right side of it.
Well, sometimes Gene Hackman doesn't come out on the right side, but I'm going to go with you. It's tough guys. I get it.
But he was in Hoosiers. I mean, he kind of came out on the other side of Hoosiers, and he was a grumpy old guy, and he turned out all right.
Well, that's true. That's true. All right, music. I know you drive around, and that. How big is that truck you drive?
It's the third biggest truck in the state of North Carolina.
If I had to park that truck at the supermarket where I'm picking up a 6-pack of beer, I'd hit something, I'm sure.
There you go.
All right, now, what did you learn to drive on when you were growing up? What car did your dad put you in to drive?
It was the first one was a used probably 78 Toyota Tercel, 5-speed.
On the floor?
Yeah. And
how were you with the clutch?
I was all right. I was pretty good.
You didn't stall it once?
I did a lot of bunny hops on the way there, to figuring it out. But by the end, I was pretty good on a hill in doing that. And the first car I ever owned was a 67 green Buick Skylark. That's the first one I ever bought.
Wow. A green Skylark was it?
Yeah, it was that perfect shade of green too. That Detroit green. It's kind of lime, kind of ugly. Yeah,
doesn't polish up real good though.
No, does not. Does not at all. Did not get great gas mileage either. I will assure you.
Well, I'm proud that your father said, look, if you're going to learn to drive, you've got to learn to drive with a stick.
Yeah.
You've got to learn how to master the clutch,
Yes.
which is why you're a perfect athletic director now. What's an unexpected hobby of yours?
Coming out of this and trying to do all I can to stay in shape is, I used to do a fair amount of yoga. Now I do Orange Theory.
Who?
Orange Theory, something we should go to someday. With it's more functional fitness.
This is a thing.
This is a thing, and
I wasn't briefed on this. None of the producers told me about Orange
they
Theory.
didn't. All right, 20 minutes. Picture it: 20 minutes on a treadmill, 20 minutes on a rower, and then 20 minutes of weight training. And you do it all in an hour with thumping music. And
Wow. So, what's your favorite dish to cook?
I've been on the grill 4 nights this week, right? From chicken wings that I got a little marinade that I put on the chicken wings before a dry rub, to some barbecue chicken, to some steak last night, and fish kind of to start the week. So any of those things, but I make a pretty good lasagna. I make a pretty good lasagna, multi-layer, and there's a veggie lasagna and a separate meat lasagna every time we do it.
Wow. I don't think I've ever had your lasagna.
Well, we can, as soon as we're out of this, it's going to be amazing what we can do.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to mention that.
It's planted. The seed is planted.
All right. Let me get a little serious with you. What's some of the best advice you've ever received?
My father always had 2 things that he used to say. One was, it is better to remain silent and appear stupid than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Which, as I've gotten older, is, make sure that you listen a whole lot more than you talk, right? That's kind of where I've gotten with that. And the other is, take your job serious, but not yourself. And I think I think about that on a daily basis. The chair in which I sit every day is an important chair, right? And it's something that deserves the best of everything that I have every day. But when I leave here and someone says, what do you do? I say, I work in the athletic department. It's not, I don't want this to define who I am as a person. This is what I do, and I'm awful proud of what I do, and I try to work hard, and hopefully people see that we work hard and that we really, really care about it. But that's not, I want to be Christian's husband. I want to be Finley, Trey, and Brian's father. I want to be my mom's son. I want to be all of those things in life. And this is what I do, as opposed to being all consuming. And quite frankly, starting to think of myself as more than I actually am. I'm just the guy that's the AD here.
Well, and doing a phenomenal job. There aren't a lot of people in a position like yours that's a prominent position, a very visible position, and one with a lot of responsibility that grew up in a household where you actually ate dinner occasionally with a man that walked in the shoes you're walking in now, that had a similar job. So this is a different question, because you were last in the line of Corrigan children. And I know everybody's dying to know, where did Boo come from?
So the genesis comes from, my father really didn't love the name Eugene. So he didn't really want to name anyone after him, but they had 2 girls and then 5 boys. And he thought, maybe if I finally name someone Eugene, we can stop having kids. I like to think of it that he was waiting for the chosen one to give the name to. But the real story behind it is, when I was a baby, he used to throw me up in the air and say, boo, 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 boo. And I started responding to it, and I sit before you as a 54-year-old man named Boo.
Well, and I recall when we had this conversation, I mentioned to you that my father's middle name was Eugene, Herbert Eugene. And he was the seventh of seven, and his nickname was Squirt. So I think you came out on the better end of that.
I think I ended up in a good place. One of the sad things about the relationship that we've been able to create is that Herb and Gene Corrigan never got to meet each other. I think they would have had quite a time together.
I have no doubt, and I would love to be a fly on the wall and hear the conversation. Well, as we come to the end of this Red Chair Chat episode, I want to give you a chance to say anything you've got on your mind to the Wolfpack Nation. I know it's been a tough year for everybody, and they've missed being in Carter Finley, they've missed being in Reynolds, they've missed being at PNC, and on and on and on. But let me give you a chance to have the last word here to the Wolfpack family.
Well, I just want to thank them first and foremost, and for staying connected, and to thank our students for how they've represented, to thank our staff and coaches who have made sacrifices, including financial sacrifices, as we've gone through this to try to get our budget into a better place than where we thought initially, and to Wolfpack Nation for those people that participated in Preserve the Pack and have been able to give a little bit that will also continue to help our budget. I wish like heck that, they could have been there as we win 8 football games this past year, the job that Coach Dorn's done, and meet Lucas Slave, our new volleyball coach, and been there with Wes as the women's team has, goes back-to-back ACC championships. First time ever we've been a #1 seed, and Lori Hennis and Braden Holloway and Pat Papaluzio. And here's the good news, folks. We're going to be able to welcome you back. And we're so excited to be able to welcome you back to be a part of it, because, we don't want to be anyone else, and they can't be us. So let's be the best NC State we can be, and let's move on, and let's move up, and let's keep being who we are, because I'm awful proud of who we are as an institution.
Well, that's a good final word. So, Boo, thank you for all you do for NC State. It's good to have you here today in our episode of Red Chair Chat, and we hope to see the Wolfpack Nation again in the next edition of Red Chair Chat. Thank you all for being with us.